Welcome to another episode of Streetpreneur Podcast, where we go to the streets to find the most creative and innovative entrepreneurs and small business owners. And today I have a very special guest. She's an event producer. She's worked with some very high-profile clients, such as Him 500, a Circle of CEOs, InvestFest, and Earn Your Leisure. I would like to welcome Mrs. Ashley Miller to the show.
Thank you so much.
Lucky, we're glad to have you here.
Yes, I'm honored to be here.
Yes, you're definitely a celebrity in this space, and we want to talk about that today.
Okay.
Just tell us a little bit about your background. Who is Ashley Miller?
Yes, so my background, before I got into the events industry, I was a property manager. Okay. And I always tell people kind of how I started or got into this realm of work. So I was a senior property manager for almost 10 years. So that was my previous career. And I was looking for my next, like my next chapter in life. Right. And I was allowed to do my class reunion. So that was the very first event that I was a part of. Okay. I was on the planning committee, so a lot of work, probably over the course of 8 months or so. And when I was able to see my classmates come back and like really enjoy all of the efforts that me and the committee put together, it was just like, oh, I love this. Just right. The feeling of it, to know that I was creating a memory that would last forever in someone else's life. And that was the spark for me. Okay. And now, 12 years later, going on 13, here we are producing all types of events. So, yeah, that's where I kind of got my start from.
Right.
Yeah.
So making that transition from, 9-to-5 corporate life mm-hmm. and over to starting your own company, yeah. How did you know that the time was right for you to become a CEO yeah. and start your own company? What was that? What inspired you to say, I'm finna go ahead and take this leap of faith and go ahead and start my own business and do this?
Yeah, so entrepreneurship has always been a part of my family. Okay. On my father's side, my great-grandfather, he owned land. We still have that family land, actually, down in South Georgia. Okay. He also had a general store. And all type of like agricultural, like animals on the farm, raising their own, plants and food and things of that nature. My father also has his own business as he's a carpenter. So with that being a part of me, it's always been that, have your own, create your own. So when I was, as you stated, in the corporate world, in property management, and it was the opportunity, as I stated, to do the class reunion, that was my spark to say, okay, I can do this and it be my thing. And of course, as most entrepreneurs kind of start off, you're kind of doing that balancing act of the 9-to-5 mm-hmm. and, your side gig, right? Or your side right. hustle starting right. to be that until it can be your mm-hmm. main hustle. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much where it started. But entrepreneurship has always been a part of my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what year was that you started the company?
So we started in 2011. So 2011 is when I started the business. I went full-time in my business in 2016. So I've been full-time in my business ever since then. Okay. Yeah.
And what was that first event? If you can remember that you did under BEC Productions.
So my first event was a wedding. Actually, it was it was the wedding for one of my really good friends. He and his wife, of course, and they're still married. So it's been a long time since I've done a wedding. But yeah, that's where we started. So I started off as a wedding planner. I did that for about 5 years, and then moved into conferences, seminars, and masterminds and things of that nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
And which one do you enjoy most of the events that you produce? Is it the masterminds? Is it the major conferences? Yeah. Or is it the kind of small, more intimate setting events?
I love them all.
You love them all?
Yeah. I mean, I get something different from all of them, right? Of course, with the more smaller, intimate events, you're able to kind of touch and feel people a little bit more. Right. The attendees are able to know who you are. You're able to learn them a little bit more as well, and you know how to, serve them on more of an intimate space and level. But of course, with the conferences, the larger ones, what I say mega conferences, right, is what some of the ones that we produce, like InvestFest. With that, it's more for the masses, right? So you definitely have to take into consideration what the needs are for the attendees, the vendors, your speakers, things of that nature. And it's a much larger scale that you're working with. But all of them touch my heart, the same, to know, again, that I am curating that experience for people to be able to take something away from it. So all of them.
Let's touch on your team.
Yeah.
And of course, the events that you do, you have to have, I'm pretty sure, a well-experienced team. Tell us about your team and some of the roles that they have to execute.
Yeah. So my core team, with my company, which is BEC Production, I have 5 people who are my core team who pretty much work with me hand in hand constantly, throughout the year, the different projects that we have, the different clients. So it's about 5 of us that are core to the team and executing. Of course, our vendor partners are extremely important. One thing that I say about planning any type of event is everybody plays a part. Everybody is a part of the puzzle. And in order for it to be complete, everybody has to show up and show out the best that they can, right? So I'm very big on having experts in their field, expert in their skill set, whatever that is that they provide, right? So the cleaning company is just as important as, my AV company. You get what I'm saying? So like my cleaning company has to be on top of keeping the restrooms clean, making sure that, the catering team, they're all on one accord with picking up the trash and busting the tables after lunch, whatever that is. The same as my AV team, right? The AV has to make sure that the microphones are on point. The sound is, spectacular, all of those things. So everybody plays a part.
Okay.
Everybody.
Let's kind of break down this scenario. Just say I want you to produce my event.
Yeah.
My budget is $25,000. Walk me through the process from the onboarding process all the way through. How does, just tell us the role and your strategic plan would be for a new client that's coming on board and wants you to produce their event.
Right. So I never lead with money. Okay. Right. So a $25,000 budget, it depends on what the client is looking for. Right. So a $25,000 budget, I can do that with intimate dinner for 10 people. Okay. Easy. I can spend that 25. Okay. If you come to me and you say that you have $25,000 and you want to do 100-person mastermind, right? I can't help you. Okay. You get what I'm saying? And the reason is because it takes so much, right? Of course, the budget is, your line items that you have on that budget sheet to make sure that everything, can happen. Okay. But it really, you have to lead with what your goal is for your event, right? So we always start there. Okay. So you can't start with just the budget. Okay. Yeah.
So it can vary from just like you said, an intimate setting with 10 people up to a conference like you just did with Earn Your Leisure. Yeah. What is the price range? Just say it's $5,000 to $100,000.
So it's not again. People always like to play the numbers game. So I could even ask you how much does it cost to produce your podcast? Well, if I'm telling you, it's so many more factors that go into that, right? So, are you recording here in Atlanta where you don't have to travel?
I got you.
Are you producing your podcast in Miami on a yacht? How much does it cost for the yacht? How much does it cost for you, your team, to travel, to be able to get to Miami? So, again, I never lead with a number. It's always tell me what your goal is and let me know what you want to bring to life. Okay. So that's how we do our onboarding in a sense. And of course, we get to the money talk, right? On how much do you have to spend, but it's also based off of what you want the experience to be. Because I'm sure you have always heard that everybody wants a champagne, event with a beer budget. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes they do have the champagne, budget to be able to take care of what that vision is. Okay. But a lot of it is educating your clients, on what that takes and what it looks like.
And what it looks like. Yeah. That's true. I know it can vary.
Yeah.
Let's kind of break down mentorship in this business. Did you have mentors going into this business, or who did you have to consult with as far as, they help keep the mistakes at a minimum
Yeah.
And help you to be able to kind of navigate your way in the event producing business?
Yeah, so I will say that I have been extremely blessed with amazing mentors.
Okay.
And actually, on some of my events, I actually bring my mentors on to be a part of the team to execute.
Okay.
Again, as I stated, everybody has to be an expert that I deal with, because they're going to show up and show out, and it makes everything run as smooth as possible, right? Because everybody is doing what they love and what they know how to do, right?
Right.
So I have had amazing mentors throughout, and that's something that I kind of suggest to people getting into any industry. I would say work for a company in whatever that role is that you want to do, or that you want to have, even if it's for your own company, or find some type of educational, courses or classes that you can take to get a certification or whatever that, that may be. Right. But I think mentorship is extremely important. And I still go back to my mentors now, on various things in my business, scaling, contract negotiations. Of course, the industry always has new trends and things of that nature. Different type of conferences that I can attend to continue to grow my own personal development, my business development. So all of those things. So mentorship and staying relevant. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Is always important. So yeah.
Okay. Let's kind of touch on this. Somebody else was doing a small debate about this subject matter right here. As far as producing an event, and I'm just going to say marketing the event. How important is it? Is it important to advertise the panelists who are going to be on the stage at the event, or is it important to advertise the educational component of what the conference is about? So, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, I think
just kind of give me your perspective on it.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both of them. I think that it's also where you are in your business as well that's really important, right?
Okay.
So if I deal with a client and they don't have, in a sense, like a strong community, and I'm not always talking about like likes on Instagram or like how many followers that you have. No, I don't think that those things are always important. But it's also important of knowing who your audience is that you're going to have in the room, right? And what it is that they want and what it is that they need. So, of course, your relevance and your following is a part of it, but it's not the thing that you absolutely have to lead with, right?
Deciding factor determines.
I don't think so at all. Of course, if you're talking about marketing or where you want to put your advertising dollars or things of that nature, is it that you want to put that money towards media, like radio ads and things like that? Is it even necessary for you to do it, right? Or do you have a large enough community that you've built with the panelists and things like that you're going to have on the stage, plus their communities and their audience,
and they can
do you really need it? You get what I'm saying? So it's it varies.
Right.
And it also depends on the size of your event, right? If you're doing something that's a more intimate event, you can get that off of doing a couple of lives or, guests, depending on who that guest is,
That's
right?
Yes.
But if you're going to do something larger, then names do matter.
Yeah, that's true.
Names do matter. So that's my take.
As far as networking in your industry, attending masterminds and conferences and things of that nature, and spending that kind of money that it takes to get into those rooms, just kind of tell us how important it is to get in the room and to be at these mastermind events and what they can do for your company.
Well, I always say whenever you are, I think that networking is extremely important, but networking is also extremely strategic, right? You should have a plan on why you're walking into a room and what it is that you need for your business, but also what value it is that you can give to that person that you're even going and, asking for help from or asking to be in their space, right? And I always say that, like, for you to have the opportunity to be in somebody's space, what is it that you have for them that can elevate them? Like, you just can't go into that space looking at what it is that you can have, right? And you don't have to go into a room to network with everybody. You get what I'm saying? So, and we also got to kind of talk about the definitions of what some of those things are, right? So when you're going into a mastermind, typically a mastermind is you amongst your peers, right? Learning and sharing experiences and resources and things of that nature. So you're in a room with people who are possibly on the same level where you are, maybe a little bit lower or maybe a little bit higher, right? So that's what masterminds are. But when you're going to maybe like a larger conference, again, you still have to have a strategic plan about what it is that you need for your business and how you can give value to that company or that person that you're going to talk to as well. Whereas a mastermind is more of just like sharing ideas and, your own testimonials of where you are and what business and what your goals are.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different, yeah.
All right. We know you're a very busy woman. Just kind of tell us, what is your day-to-day like as far as preparing for a business day? Just kind of walk us through briefly what that scenario looks like as far as, I'm sure, calling clients, going to this meeting and things of that nature.
So every day is different. But when let's just say talking about preparation for, an event.
Okay.
So there are a lot of phone calls, as you stated, Zoom calls, meetings. So it just varies on where we are in the calendar, right? So for, let's just say a week out from an event, that's a lot of finals, right? I tell people that whenever you're walking into an event, your whole game plan should be in place before you walk into that event, right?
Okay.
As an event producer, your main assignment and task on event days is putting out fires.
Say that again.
Is putting out fires.
Okay. All right.
Crisis management. That is what you're doing on your event days, right?
Okay.
Because all of the preparation in advance is one, why you have to be so organized as an event producer, because you have so many different elements and people that are going to be a part of it. Right. So with that, that's where your game plan is. So security, knowing, the full run of show, what time the talent is coming, where they need to be, doing the walkthroughs months after month, you know what I mean? Up until that event date, to know where people are going to be entering, what gates are they coming into, where's the closest restroom for Diddy. You get what I'm saying? Like his security coming and doing those walkthroughs. So where as event day, everybody should know, right? It's just a flow because you've already done all of those things in advance. You've had several meetings with your clients. You've had several meetings with your teams to go over registration and what those credentials look like and who gets what. So you're just putting out fires on day of, should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from beginning to end on a project of that magnitude, such as an Invest Fest, how many months prior preparation does it take? Is this like a 6-month project, or that's a lot? I mean, just the speakers alone was what, maybe 100 or? We
had 130.
Yeah, I'm just my mind is blown. How do you even organize?
It's a lot.
So it starts a year out. You start a year in advance.
A year out is beautiful. And even my clients like Earn Your Leisure, we talk about this, and they talk about this on their podcast as well. For the first Invest Fest, we did that in 8 weeks.
Ain't no way possible. 8 weeks? What was this one? With over 20,000 people?
8 weeks, yes. So the first one that we did was about 8 weeks. And we're now going into the 4th year for Invest Fest. The first year we had about 4,000 attendees, but we did that, in 8 weeks. And it was still a lot. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
The second year we grew to about 14,000 people. And then this year we were at almost 20,000 people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So... And
did that time frame change? I'm sure it did, but
I mean, it's definitely not a rinse and repeat as a lot of people would think that it is, right? Because it's different logistics. We're growing, which means that we're going into different spaces, even if it is, the same, location like GWCC downtown Atlanta. Okay. It's 3 different buildings inside of what that particular, offering is in that facilities. And we've moved to different buildings. So just even the ins and outs of what it will be like when a person, is dropped off on Uber. Where is that? Where does that ping? You don't even think about think of that. Right? Is signage going to be there? What does that look like for them when they're entering in, and how far do they have to go? ADA, all of this stuff. Okay. So the more time that you have in advance to plan, the better. So like with this last year, we had about a year, almost a year, to be able to get everything in order. And now, moving into next year, we're looking at dates and things of that nature, as well. So the sooner the better. I always like to have, at minimum, again, depending on the type of event that it is, 6 months is like beautiful. Give me 6 months and we can really make some shit shake.
That's
right?
what I kind of estimated between that in my mind for that 20,000 people.
But for a larger event like that, you really want to give yourself a year if you can.
You need a year.
Yeah, you want to give yourself a year because it can be a lot.
Right. And as that event grows going forward, do you move it to a bigger venue, a bigger city? Another city, or I'm sure you can't make that answer right now, but I'm sure that's something that'll be looked at.
Yeah, so I tell
it was 20,000 this year. Next year it's probably going to be 40.
Yeah,
or close to 40.
Yeah, you know, and growth is something that will continue to happen. With
logistics
the
are going to change.
Logistics will continue to change.
Right.
I would say that whenever anybody, any client is, and not really talking about InvestFest directly right now, but whenever you're trying to do something that you feel is going to be something that's going to be on an annual basis, is really, really good to find your roots.
Okay.
And when I say find your roots, like find whatever that city is that you want to be in, because one of the important things is as you grow and that event grows, the city will start to come on board and be able to provide resources to you. Also, people are extremely familiar with like travel, even your attendees, and the time of the year that you have it. Those type of things are good for you to think about. So planning routes in one place is really good. Great example is Essence, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Essence Fest is where?
In New Orleans.
And when?
Forever,
4th of July weekend.
Yeah, every place I've always, same time, same place, same.
You get what I'm saying? And so
city.
people have already prepared themselves for that. So now it's like an annual girls trip.
Hotel rooms are booked and everything is already booked a year in advance.
Yeah, and and even just think about that even when you're starting, your own smaller events, but if it's something that you want to have that's annual, and then also like community building, that's something that clients should be doing throughout the year, to be able to have that foundation for when they do have those larger events in the city, that they have people that they have already known, work with, and that they can come and be a part of those type of events. So you got to kind of think like this. Everything's strategic.
Okay. Let's touch on the international. As far as I know some of your clients have done international events. What is the preparation going into international events? So what services does your company offer for those?
Yeah, so it's the same, if domestic or international, our services are the same, which is production, right? From start to finish. I always say from A to Z, from the idea to, bringing it to life to reality. That's what we do, and everything in between. So that can be, vendor procurement, which is, your venue, doing all your research on that. Also helping with the logistics, the run of shows, like what that programming looks like. And then procuring, as I stated, like all of the things and the vendor partners that you need to be able to execute. Of course, every country has their different requirements that they have, like for travel, also different type of taxes. You have to learn that conversion for monies. Like like when we do a budget and we're talking about pesos versus dollars. That's a difference in in the money. Also, when you're thinking about international type of events, you do have to consider that for travel. Are you having persons domestically come, or is it more for that community there? So kind of feeling like what it is that you're providing, right?
Okay.
So a lot to think about.
Right. It is definitely a lot to think about. What changes do you see in your industry? Anything significant changes, or just anything in relation to event producing that's changing the industry, whether it's AI, whether it's the size of the venue, inflation, just what are some of those factors and changes that you see that are slowly taking place in the industry versus when you first started?
Boy, of course, technology, and I think
Right.
that's something that you see in all industries, right? That
Yes.
technology is now starting to come. AI,
Right.
as you stated, is something that a lot of people are talking about now. But those things will continue to change. Trends as well. The things that are really trendy right now may not be as
That's the
trendy.
word I was
The
looking
next
for.
year, things
that's
of that
true.
nature.
That's true.
So it just varies on what it is. But yeah, it'll always be changes and waves in a sense of what the changes will be that you'll see in any type of industry. So for the events industry, I will say during the pandemic, right? So in 2020, that's when you would see like a lot of virtual events and Zooms and things of that nature, where we still do have those type of events, but on the corporate side of things, you definitely see them now inching back into those like in-person events, which really started last year,
Yeah,
right?
it did.
So 2020 was a big hit for everybody with the
Right.
pandemic because we couldn't gather. And as you know, for events, that's our bread and butter.
Yeah,
People getting together, loving
Right.
on each other,
Those are
touching,
right,
networking,
right.
things of that nature.
Just a
And
lot
so
of
when that
virtual workshops, and
Yeah,
it's mostly
so
what it was. Yeah.
virtual was one of the biggest shifts that we saw within our industry. So now it's more of the hybrids. You've heard people talk about hybrids. So it
yes.
may be where it's a live event with some type of streaming component to it and things of that nature. So that's one of the things that is kind of strong in the industry right now. So I think that virtual will continue to phase out, as people do continue to gather, because that is like that interaction. People really need it, and people really enjoy it as well.
Okay. Let's kind of touch on scaling. Then the new developments that you want to add to your company, any new services, any new components that you want to add, or courses, or just anything as far as scaling your business that you've been thinking about lately,
Yeah, so
or that you want to implement in 2024.
So one of the things that I do want to do is get back to mentorship and coaching and things of that nature. Just really figuring out the way that I want to do it. I don't always believe that you have to do what the industry is doing per se, or do it the way that the industry is doing it. So some type of innovative way to give back to my community beyond just servicing as an event producer is something that we are looking into doing within the company. We actually have a meeting now going into Q4 to kind of talk about some of those things that we want to do for next year, but more developments are coming.
Is that one-on-one coaching, or more like group seminars or workshops, or
Those are all options.
right?
Those are all options. Those are
Or it
all
might
on
be
the
a mixture,
table.
maybe a mixture of all.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all on the table. But education is something that I want to get back to. I used to teach at Clayton State sometimes. There was one of my mentors was the professor there for the event planning and management course. So I would go in and teach some of her courses, some of her classes for her. And I really do enjoy that. I think that giving back continues to elevate the industry, right? Because we all have experiences that we can share and it be beneficial. So it is something that I want to get back into. I'm just not sure exactly how we're going to do that, how we're going to serve the world.
Right.
Yeah.
What is your most accomplishment that you're proud of at this moment? Business or personal?
Making my mom and dad proud.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that living in my authenticity of who I am is something that's always been very important, and also something that has always been encouraged, from my parents, to just show up in who you are, because your tribe comes to you by you being true to who you are and how God designed you to be. Okay. Right? So I think that me doing that, I do that very well. I'm, very confident in who I am, how I show up in the world, and what it is that I have to offer. Yeah. I'm very much spiritual and like an energy type girl. So I highly lean into that. And I think I'm a great person, and the way that I show up and that I serve and I'm fulfilling my purpose in life makes my parents proud. So in return, that is what fills my spirit. Yeah. Okay,
I got you. Great answer. And just kind of touching on challenges you faced in the business. What are some of the mistakes that you made that you wish you hadn't have made? And some learning experiences that you had to learn in overcoming some of those challenges. Just tell us what a few of them are or were.
Yeah. So I always say that I don't lead with regrets because every moment in your life brings you to exactly where you are in life, right?
Okay.
So there's nothing that I would regret or change per se about my journey because I do feel like every experience is exactly as it is supposed to be. And the lessons that I receive from any moment, I never say it's a loss, right? I always say that it's a lesson, right?
Learning
Whatever
experience.
that, whatever that lesson is that I was supposed to get out of it. And you always know what that lesson is because it's like an aha moment, or something that you kind of feel in your spirit and it makes you kind of sit back and evaluate, what the situation was. So we get those all the time.
Okay.
It's not like one particular thing that I would say, but yeah, I'm always open to lessons in life and we get them every day.
Yeah, that's true.
Every day.
Right. As far as becoming a successful event producer, as far as being able to have all the elements of what it takes, just tell us 3 components of being a successful event producer.
I think that you, as a producer, you have to be flexible.
Okay.
Right? You definitely have to know that plans are meant to be broken, right? And we talked about that as far as like when you walk into your event,
Yes.
as much as possible, everything should be like to a T planned out. But things are going to always change, right?
Yes,
so being able to be flexible and, as I stated, putting out fires is what you're doing on your event days, right? Making those adjustments that need to be made, right? So I think flexibility is super duper important. So that's one of the things. The second one that I would say is being super organized is utterly important as a producer because you are caring for and serving so many people, right? When it comes to your events, just to talk about InvestFest, and you even talked about it. You said, oh my gosh, like you had like 120 speakers.
Right.
So you have to think to be organized to be able to serve not only 120 speakers, the entourages, the content teams, all of that, right? So you say you have 120 speakers, but you really have 300 persons just in that realm that you have to deal with content and the assistance and the phone calls in advance and the planning and this person is requesting a Zoom call to get logistics together before they're even on site. So it's a lot to take care of and keep organized with that, right? And then you also have 420 exhibitors. Okay.
Yeah,
and their teams times, let's just say 6.
That's true.
Right? That's 1,000 people just in the exhibit hall that you have to cater to and care for.
Right.
Then you're talking about the 20 attendees, the 20,000 attendees, right? On top of the almost 100 vendors that it takes to make that event happen. So organization
is really the number one thing.
You kind of need that. You know what I mean? Yeah, you have to be able to be organized. And then I say the last one would be that you have to continue to develop, and pour into yourself. And just always have that that urge to be better, that urge to learn more and stay relevant, with what's going on in your industry, with the different trends and things of that nature. So education is super important. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. What about an event that you want to produce? Is there anything in particular that you've been wanting to do for years on your own or under your umbrella? And can you tell us what that is you've been thinking about it? I can tell by your facial expression.
I don't know if there's a particular event that I would like to produce or be associated with per se. Again, I think that universe will bring to me where I'm supposed to be and what that looks like. Right. As far as one of the things that I do want to do more of is give back, right, in the community. Okay. And it doesn't have to necessarily be, within the events industry. Right. But I think that that's something that I've just kind of been personally wanting to figure out where I want to give my time and talents and what type of like give back component that I want to do. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's something where my heart is leading me to. Right,
you're open to.
Yeah,
open to doing that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's touch on mental health. I know that your plate is always full. So what does Ashley do to relax? Just to take a break? Do you do yoga? Do you do meditation? Do you do
reading me? All of that. I do all of that.
You do all of that. So, I mean, what is that mental break that you need? Like, hey, it's time for me to stop this today. I'm just going to take off.
Yeah.
Right.
I will say that one of my post-event rituals is I go and get a massage.
Okay.
Within 48 hours after my event, I have to be in somebody's spa.
Yeah.
Like, it's mandatory. Like,
Right.
I have to check out. One of the other things that I do is I typically take off the week after. Like, with my larger events, I typically take a week off. And when I say that, I mean, like, my out of office is going to be on for my emails. That's kind of another way. And I kind of suggest that for entrepreneurs as well, is to, like, turn on that out of office when you need to be away and you want to, like, even mentally check out. Is one of those ways to say, okay, they know that I'm not available. They know that, kind of, that you're away. So I think that that's a good thing for you to do, because it kind of helps you mentally say, okay, I can breathe a little bit. It's okay for me not to check my email. It's okay for me to not respond or feel that I need to, right? And if you put people in that space of, no, email me, shoot me an email. Yeah, email me. So then that way it's there when you need to put it on. So I always do, like I say, my massage is mandatory. I'll go to the spa, and just kind of like get a body scrub or something
Just
mandatory
relax.
after my events. The other thing that you mentioned, which is meditation, I am an avid meditator. And the one thing that I do every single morning is I meditate.
You meditate.
I meditate. I'm very much a crystal girl, right? So I have my favorite crystals. I actually have one on me right now. But I think that meditation is really important because it allows you to set your day, set your tone, also set your energy. And one of the things that I always say is I give to myself before I give myself to the world.
Okay.
Right? And I think that it's important for everybody to do, because it allows you to center yourself and know how you want to give yourself, and if you need to step back, or like you say, take that day and just be off if you feel like, they say, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Like, you got to honor those feelings, because they're valid.
Yeah, they are.
And they're true.
Right.
And it really speaks to, you being tired or not needing to be in a space to where you are giving yourself, to the world. Right. So mandatory is like to check yourself in the morning, sit down, meditate, even if it's, you kind of sitting and listen to some affirmations in the morning. Whatever that is for you, you got to find your thing.
That's true.
And whenever you find that thing, like, lean more into it, because that's what'll bring you back to balance. So if it's swimming, if it's running, if it's walking, listening to the birds chirp, whatever, that thing is for you, you got to find it. And I think that that's like a personal journey, type element of life that you have to do.
Okay. In 2020, you published a book. And we want to touch on that, what is the current priority me?
It is.
Tell us the inspiration briefly behind the book.
Yeah.
And you adding author to your title.
Yeah. So again, we're talking about affirmations, and that's what current priority me is. So it's 365 quotes from Black voices within our community. It may be an entrepreneur that within our space. It may be, a famous author. I also have some of my family members' quotes in there as well. And then after that quote is my take on whatever that quote is. And then it ends with the affirmation. And so again, it is 365 of them. So it's one for each day. And so that's what current priority me is. And I decided to write that in 2020 because, of course, we were in the pandemic and I had time on my hands.
Right. To sit down and put all your heart and your thoughts into it.
Yeah, and it was more therapeutic for me, and it was something that I was able to, kind of give to the world and put it in that book form. But it was honestly to get me through the hard times and a lot of other, hard times that everybody else was going through. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any advice for entrepreneurs who want to follow in your footsteps?
Advice is to, again, get in the industry, have a mentor, or go and work for a company that provides that service that you think that you want to do. And let me go a little further on that when I say go and work for a company that does what you think you want to do.
Right.
When you go and work for another company, don't go into it with a mindset like, oh, I'm going to go in here and figure out what they do and how they're doing it, right? You have to also go into it and serve in that position that you've been blessed with, right? Okay. So if you're coming in and, just to say somebody comes and work for my company and they're my assistant, come in, show up and show out. and be my assistant and be the best that you can do, because you're learning skills and things of that nature, but be true to what your purpose is and where you are in that moment. And then if you do decide to go on, then, you move on and you have those, those skills that you've gained. And I tell small businesses that all the time as well. Like, nobody is meant to be with you for a lifetime. If you have that, then you got a unicorn. But that's just like with us having corporate jobs. We were there for 5 months, 5 years, or whatever it is. But when you were there, you had a purpose to serve. So serve that purpose and then move on. So that's kind of something I always share with entrepreneurs and people wanting to get into any type of industry.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's touch on money for entrepreneurs.
Money.
And they talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
Does money make you happy, or does it buy you options?
Money definitely gives you options. I don't think that it makes you happy.
Wow.
I think that happiness is more of a internal quest
Okay.
of finding who you are and how you show up in the world.
Okay.
I don't think that that's attached per se to money,
Right.
As I stated, the one thing that makes my heart and my soul shine is making my parents proud. That has nothing to do with money, but that brings me the most happiness and the joy in the world, right? That has nothing to do with a dollar at all. So I don't think that money is linked directly to happiness, but it does give you options to be able to, relax and not get up and work if you don't feel like it for the day. Right. You get what I'm saying?
That's
because
true.
you have that cushion, but I don't
Right.
think that is directly linked to the happiness that you have in life. No.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah?
Yeah. A lot of people going to learn a lot from that.
Yeah,
So
good.
make sure y'all listen to that
Yeah.
and rewind this.
Yes.
Is there anything else that we need to know about Ashley Miller, and anything else you want to touch on before we leave? Also, give them your contact information. How can they reach out to you for those who have an event or planning an event and want you to work their event?
Yeah. So I definitely have to say thank you for having me. It has been an honor and it's been a pleasure. I don't do podcasts too often, and put myself, in front facing, shall I say. I always say that I'm the star behind the curtains, and I like it that way.
Right.
So a lot of people would see my face and be like, oh, okay, so this is the person that produced, this event and worked with him 500 and Earn Your Leisure and so on. So I will say thank you. I appreciate that. People can find me on Instagram. That's the place that you'll find me most. My personal Instagram is Ashley_Adana, and that's ADANA. So that's A and then Dana, Ashley Adana. And then my business is BEC Production. So that's BEC Production without an S, also on Instagram. And you can find all of our contact information on either one of those pages. So that's where you can find me.
Okay. And let them know one more time who are some of the clients you work with. As far as high profile clients. People love the name drop. So.
I know people love the name, and I don't.
Right.
So when you said that, you see me like kind of pulling back. So I'm not a name dropper, but since you asked, I'll definitely share. So as we have talked about, InvestFest is one of my clients. Earn Your Leisure is one of my clients. Him 500, Neo Davis, Rick Ross.
Wall Street.
Sony Records. Wall Street Trapper. Yep. Trap is one of my clients as well. So that's just a couple of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we want to thank you for coming out, taking time out of your busy schedule to come see Streetpreneur.
Yes, I appreciate it.
And giving us the opportunity to definitely interview you. And I'm sure this is going to have a lot of reach. It's going to reach a lot of people and going to inspire a lot of people.
Yes.
And we want to thank you for coming out.
Thank you so much.
And I hope my watchers and my listeners and all my streetpreneurs out there took notes today and learned a lot from this interview. And we look forward to seeing you next week when we're going to have another special guest.